Refusal Criteria. Chapter 4. The Crescendo. Richey awoke once again, this time to the repulsive smell of burning oil. The car rolled to a stop with the black smoke rolling off the manifold and slithering out from under the chassis. "We better let her cool down. I've been pushing it pretty hard," Sam said. "She can't take much more of this. Valve cover gaskets are leaking like a sieve. You heat that engine up too much and she'll burn." "It's fine. It just needs to cool down for a few minutes. We can't get complacent." Richey put his hand on the dash. She used to be a fine ride, shiny and quiet. She ran like a Swiss watch. "What happened to her?" Sam asked. "Life wore her down. She is not what she used to be," Richey responded. Neither man was sure they were still talking about the car. Sam shot him a sideways look. "What was that craziness you were talking about in your sleep?" "What are you talking about?" "Look, don't shit me. I have driven you halfway across the country running from God knows what. You lay over there twitching and mumbling like a madman. I have given you every opportunity to fill me in, but we've been through Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, and now South Dakota. You need to tell me what is in the trunk right now." Richey's eyes drew somber. "Everything." "How much is everything?" With the same saddened look, Richey replies, "Everything that matters in the world." Richey had pushed too hard, and Sam snapped. He reached over and snagged a handful of hair, jerking Richey's head close. "Open the freaking trunk." "I can't. No key." "I saw you put it in your pocket. It's not there anymore." "Where is the key?" "The cat is in the bag, and the bag is in the river." Richey giggled knowingly. Sam climbed over Richey, out the passenger door, dragging him by the hair behind him. Sam's pent-up frustration boiled over. He beat Richey's head against the trunk lid in rhythm with his repeated demand to open the trunk. Open the trunk. Richey did not struggle against him, which was probably why he did not realize when Richey was unconscious. For a moment, he thought he had killed him, but a quick check of his pulse and Sam breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that the cat had stolen a bunch of money or drugs, but he didn't know for sure if it was in the trunk or if this nut had some damn clue in the trunk and the stash was elsewhere. He wished he could pillage the trunk and leave Richey in there, but after a fruitless search of Richey's pockets, he had no way of opening it. He could beat on it with a rock from the ditch, but it probably wouldn't open. And wouldn't that be grand? Some farmer comes by with his unconscious friend lying there, and he is beating on the guy's car with a rock. No way is that going unnoticed. He loaded Richey into the back seat and started driving. A farm along the road looked deserted, so he planned to stop and knock. If someone answered, he would simply ask directions. If there was no answer at the door, he would find some tools to get the truck open. He looked around for the most promising outbuilding he could find. The one closest to the garage attracted his attention because the door was slightly ajar. He slid it open on the squeaky rollers to see a wall and workbench stacked with tools. Jackpot! He grabbed a wrecking bar and went to town prying at the lid. He worked diligently and only managed to disfigure the leading edge. Next, he pulled out a massive flathead screwdriver and small sledgehammer. He put the screwdriver on the keyhole in the same position you would put the key. Then he struck the screwdriver with the sledgehammer as hard as he could. The screwdriver recoiled away from the keyhole with the force of the hit, and he could see that the ring-shaped mechanism had sunk in on one side. He felt excitement well up in his throat, and he quickly lined up and took another swing. Perhaps too quickly. The 5-pound sledge glanced off the rounded top of the screwdriver handle, smashed perfectly down on his thumbnail, which went momentarily numb and quickly rebounded with throbs of fiery pain. He shrieked at a pitch that would make little Richard envious. After the initial shock, he squeezed his thumb and commenced summoning the savior at the top of his lungs. Suddenly, he froze and went silent. In between yelps, he could have sworn he heard something, a voice. He strained to listen for any sound beyond the breeze rustling through the windbreak. The South Dakota wind blowing across unfettered plain would sometimes give you a whiff of sound from a distance and then starve you for more. Once he was sure there was no one else around, he lined up the screwdriver and settled for quantity of strikes over quality. 6 hits later, the ring shot through the hole into the lid and disappeared into the darkness of the trunk. The trunk was still locked, but now he had a means to finesse the latch rather than just beating on it. Within several minutes of poking, prodding, and twisting the screwdriver in the hole, he heard a click. A sweet, simple click. He did not think he could bear the sight of an empty trunk. So, after several moments of hesitation, he lifted the lid fully and then opened his eyes. Sweet Jesus, thank God. Before him was an enormous echo chamber of a trunk that was completely empty, save one thing. A very large dark blue duffel bag sat alone on the light gray carpet of the trunk. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. He carefully grabbed the double straps and pulled it closer until he was looking directly down on it. And it was heavy. Millions heavy. The bag had double zippers that met in the middle. With one zipper in each hand, his arms parted and made a semicircle along the path of the opening. He flipped the flap back and saw black plastic. This wasn't a plastic kitchen bag you could grab a hold of and rip open. This was a heavy-duty contractor's bag. After the battle with the trunk, he was not about to be deterred or even struggle with a trash bag. With a click of his razor-sharp lock blade, he flowed left to right through the plastic like butter and ripped open the bag. It wasn't clear in his memory what hit him first, the sight of a woman's severed head or the stench of decay, but he got a good dose of both before his world went black.